Whoa, oh, mercy, mercy me. All things ain't what they used to be now. Where did all the blue skies go? Poison is the wind that blows from the north and south and east. Whoa, mercy, mercy me. All things ain't what they used to be now. Oil wasted on the oceans and upon our seas, fish full of mercury. Oh, oh, mercy, mercy me. All things ain't what they used to be. No, radiation underground and in the sky. Animals and birds who live nearby are dying. Oh, mercy, mercy me. All things and what they used to be. What about this overcrowded land? How much more abuse from men? Can't you stand?
What's going on? What's going on? Welcome to Soul Purpose Healing. That song is a reminder how things don't change. 1971, Marvin Gaye created What's Going On, the album that told the story of our times in the United States and even all over the world. So tonight, I want to dedicate this show to all the Vietnam veterans who survived probably because of the music that was played, even in Vietnam, that many musicians and artists created to tell a story of the times we were in the 1960s and 70s, when this horrific battle took place in Vietnam, and where many Americans were called to go and fight a battle. And as Muhammad Ali said, I'm not going to fight no battle. They didn't call me nigger. So why should I go to fight a battle over there? Viet Cong, not my enemies. That was Muhammad Ali, who spoke words that will ever ring in our ears of the resistance that some men showed for a war that was insane on many levels. So welcome everybody. Soul Purpose Healing. If you're new to my channel, I started Soul Purpose Healing 12 years ago on Blog Talk Radio. And the purpose and the meaning of soul purpose is to help us evolve, to find out, why are we here? Why are we here on this planet? What is your soul purpose? Not just your human mental purpose, but what is your soul purpose for being here on this planet with all the horrors and the pleasures that it brings? And then the healing needs to come. Soul purpose healing is all about bringing healing so that you can indeed walk in your divine evolutionary purpose. So let me welcome my tiny house village, because living tiny is a way to remind us, excuse me, of the simplicity that we all need to demonstrate and to live if we're going to have a more peaceful life, because so much of our life has been complicated. So let this introduction of tiny house living remind you that you can live a simpler life and have more peace and stay out of the battle with yourself. So we're going to say goodbye to Marvin Gaye for now, and we're going to bring on the tiny. The question I have for all of you who are listening and joining me tonight is, do you have anyone in your life who is a Vietnam veteran? If so, please call them up. I want to hear from them tonight. This show is dedicated to all those Vietnam veterans who survived. And we are grateful for all the ones who have transitioned on, but they made a sacrifice so that we can learn some lessons. That's what this is all about. And so, all my Vietnam veterans calling in, you can call in tonight. The number is flashing across the screen. If you have something you want to share with us, we want to just put arms around you, hugs, give you hugs, gratitude, and love that were missing during that era of violence and killing and murdering and ignorance and narcissistic energy in our government. Now, some of us may not have veterans in our lives. I happen to have four veterans in my life, significant, in fact, who all had different experiences being over there and coming back to this United States. Let's just say divided states of America. Let's call it divided states of America. We could call it other, but it's not united. So I have four men who are still living, who are in my life right now, and all of them had different experiences, and the reactions and consequences in their life are all very different. My spouse, who was the father, who is the father of my two sons, was in Vietnam at the very end, and he went over there basically as a typist, going over there to transfer to get paperwork done and make sure the soldiers came home and transfer them out. He was not in the battle. He was not in combat. So his experience, though, came after the Vietnam War when he was returned to the United States, and they forced him to stay in the military for a whole year, even though most of his friends and comrades left. He was stuck in the military to do menial work, driving veterans from the VA around and blah, blah, blah. So that created in him a lot of resistance and anger that I had to deal with in my marriage. I didn't realize it until, he explained it to me. Some years after that experience, he was still angry. Some men will talk about Vietnam as if it happened yesterday, and the anger shows up. And that's what I saw in my children's father. Years after he had left the military, the anger showed up, talking about what he experienced after Vietnam. Wasn't even in Vietnam, but afterwards, the military just put a control hold on him. And then years later, I have met men, one man in particular who was addicted to drugs, serious drug addiction after Vietnam, because that's what happened over there. That's how a lot of men dealt with that experience. They became addicted to heroin, whatever, drugs, marijuana, whatever was over. How do you numb the wound to your soul? Drugs. And then another male in my life is still suffering, I believe, from that experience in many, many ways in his body. And again, the anger shows up. There's usually anger with these men because it was a wound to the soul wound that those men experienced over there for various reasons, of course. And then a fourth one had hardly any anger that I'm aware of. I'm not as close to this other person, but there's not as much anger because that person was, I believe, in the Navy or Air Force, I believe. So there was no combat experience on the ground. But for those men who were on the ground in the trenches, boy, oh boy, that was a life-changing experience that some have never recovered. And it is part of the reason that many of them became homeless, because the mental stress and strain on them from that experience resulted in not being able to live with family members that they knew before they went to war, and not being able to cope in a society where bombs weren't being dropped and their comrade they weren't in a foxhole. All the reasons that this show is dedicated to them, the Vietnam veterans who survived the crazy psychotic madness that took place. Now, one of the reasons I'm doing this show is because Netflix, again, as if any of you know me, my evenings are spent watching YouTube's, learning more about what anything I can learn more about, and watching Netflix documentaries. So, because the war ended 50 years ago, 1975, April 30th, officially, wasn't really over, but officially, April 30th, 1975, marked the end of the Vietnam War. So, I guess to celebrate, honor, or depict what happened, Netflix put out a new documentary, which is about 4 or 5 episodes. And I watched them all over the last 2 days because I was just curious to know what I don't know already about, or what I didn't know already about this battle that my loved ones were in, these men that I've known. And this documentary will take you from anger to sadness back to anger. Because when you realize the psychopath, narcissistic leaders that we had, especially one, Henry Kissinger. If you don't know about these people, you should learn more about them, because that's why we are in the Middle East dropping bombs on another genocidal project in Gaza. Same thing. I believe Vietnam, in so many ways, was a genocide against American boys, really young men, and Viet Congs and Vietnamese, North and South, genocide. They wiped out thousands. And here's the really interesting part is that with Henry Kissinger, this Khazarian, narcissistic egomaniac at the helm, advising presidents from Johnson to Nixon on up. Somehow the elite thought Henry Kissinger should be advising people because they believed he was smart. What he was a narcissistic hungry man, and they wanted him to be in charge because they didn't have the balls to do what needed to be done. And I want to suggest tonight there were too many male dominant testosterone leaders in our government over the last 50 years or so, whatever. And that's why we have had millions of tons of bombs, just in Vietnam alone. Millions of tons of bombs were used to control and bring about political maneuvers and victories. So, as I said, if you watch this documentary on Vietnam, you're going to be angry, you're going to be sad, and many other emotions may come up. But it's necessary. It's necessary as we, conscious souls on this planet, kings and queens, melanin goddesses and gods, as we look forward to a better future. I certainly don't want my grandchildren going to war for these idiots, for these crazy elites. So it's my job, especially you grandparents, it's your job to make a difference so we don't have these same crazy elites running the show. And right now, it's pretty sad that the same thing is happening in Gaza that happened in Vietnam. Genocide. And the elite maniacs controlling and exercising their power, especially in the way of bomb. I couldn't believe when I heard 100 million tons of bombs were dropped on Vietnam during that period, from probably 1960s to 70s, because starting in 1955, which is when the Civil War in Vietnam broke out, it was just between the Viet Congs, the Vietnamese people. But somehow, that poppy field, that opium field was tempting and waving its hand to make money. And it may have even been a goal earlier than 1955. Actually, that was the year I was born. So I'm looking at this from a soul perspective. I was assigned to this planet during this time, for times like this, to make a difference, to make a change. Because starting 1955, the year I was born, to 1975, I was just innocent. I didn't even really care about the war in Vietnam because we were pretty much in Chicago, Illinois. There was no threat to be bombed in Chicago or in the United States. But now, as an adult, I see the men in my life who were affected by it and who were harmed soul on a soul level. And so my heart and my arms go out to these men and maybe some women. I don't think there were many women in Vietnam. If there were, let me know. But mostly men. And the thing about it, it wasn't a racist thing. All you racists out there want to say, well, black men, white men, Native Americans, they were all drafted. So they all served. Even people in Australia were sent to Vietnam. It was really about power and force of the elites and the leaders, psychomaniacs. And I want to show you this clip about what it was really, the money was all about. You heard the saying, the love of money is the root of all evil. That's what's going on. That was Vietnam. That's Gaza. The love of money and power is the root of all evil. And this clip right here will show you something that not a lot of people are aware of. Uh, did the CIA use Vietnam to run heroin? In case you don't know, here's a little information about how the CIA was involved in this madness. It's just an obvious thing now, but let's just listen to this clip from Uncovered for You.
For some, it was a business. The CIA's Air America flew supplies. But what if those planes carried heroin? Southeast Asia's opium trade exploded during the war. Who was moving it? Who was profiting? Was the Vietnam War also a smokescreen for a billion-dollar drug empire? Subscribe to Uncovered for You to expose the dark truth. And most think of Vietnam as a war, but for some, it was a business. The CIA's Air America flew supplies. But what if those planes carried heroin? Southeast Asia's opium trade exploded during the war. Who was moving it? Who was profiting? Was the Vietnam War also a smokescreen for a billion-dollar drug empire? Subscribe to Uncovered for You to expose the dark truth. And most think of Vietnam as a war, but for some, it was a business. The CIA's Air America flew supplies. But what if those planes carried heroin? Southeast Asia's opium trade exploded during the war. Who was moving it? Who was profiting? Was the Vietnam War also a smokescreen for a billion-dollar?
Now, how many of you might be aware of that? Well, if you were born later after the Vietnam War, surely you know about Afghanistan, Iraq, all of those things going on, opium. The love of money is the root of all evil. So tonight, I'm dedicating this show to my Vietnam veteran brothers and sisters out there who survived. And one of the ways I believe they survived was because of the music. And that's why I started the show off with Marvin Gaye. Marvin Gaye, 1971, created an album that was probably a billion seller at this point. And that was what, even at home here, what kept us dancing and smiling and singing. Because music carries a frequency. And I saw a video where it described the helicopter pilots would play the music of that time, and that's what many of the soldiers were hearing as they were drugging up. The music was being played that helped them go to another frequency, another level. So for the rest of this show, I want to play a lot of the music that that helped, that assisted the Vietnam veterans survive over there, I believe, because the frequency was there to raise their depression, their sadness, their anxiety, their frustration. Who know the range of emotions in those times, or just everywhere, I'm sure. But the music made a difference. So let us listen to some of the music that just helped those guys, helped them survive, and that brought some of those men to a creator of purpose. There's so much about the war that confused us, and especially now, what was the purpose? What was it all for? Well, here's one song that was very popular, even in the movies, that I really it makes me think about a lot about the men back then having a different frequency hearing in their ear other than bombs.
People in the street singing songs and carrying signs, mostly say hooray for our side. It's time we stop. Hey, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. Of destruction. Don't you understand what I'm trying to say? Can't you feel the fears I'm feeling today? If the button is pushed, there's no running away. There'll be no one to save with the world in a grave. Take a look around you, boy. It's bound to scare you, boy. And you tell me, don't you want somebody to love? Don't you need somebody to love? Wouldn't you love somebody to love? You better find somebody to love. There is a house in New Orleans they call the rising sun, and it's been the ruin of many a war. And God, I know I won. Love me too. I wonder why snap your finger or with your eye. I come running to you. I'm tied to your apron string, and there's nothing that I can do. Can't help myself. No, I can't help myself. Such good responses, but the picture has a mustache.
I think she'll know when your logic and proportion have fallen sloppy dead, and the white knight is talking backwards, and the red queen's off with her head. Remember what the dormouse said.
Nice to meet you. Hope you guess my name. Oh yeah. I was puzzling you with the nature of my game. Oh yeah. I watch with glee while you kings and queens fought for 10 decades for the gods they made. I shouted out, who killed the Kennedys? When after all, it was you and me. Let me please introduce myself. I'm a man of wealth and taste. I lay tracks for troubadours who get killed before they reach Bombay. Pleased to meet you. Hope you get my name.
Now, those were some of the music sounds that the soldiers were hearing from a helicopter. And I'm grateful, so grateful for music. Music is my number one love. And the Creator, in all its wonders, to allow this type of horror in our earth, of a war of this magnitude, millions of tons of bombs dropped on children, and the craziness of, but music, I believe, was the saving force for many of them. The fear had to be at an astronomical level for every soldier that went to Vietnam, and it had to be different for many. And it was probably the fear that caused the death of many of them, because it seems to me, as I've talked to Vietnam veterans, that some of them had such bravery and such courage that they were not going to let that war defeat them. But prayer has to be another element that helped these men survive. So if you're listening, if you're in the studio, or if you're on the platform, you can call in if you would like to make a comment or share your story. And I'm going to go to the prayer of the 7 galactic directions, because this, I think, is one of the tools that veterans can use to bring back the harmony that's missing, that has been missing in their life. And today is May 4th, 2025, and it adds up to a number 9, which is a harmonizing number, harmonizing a positive number of construction. If you think about being in the womb for 9 months, and the harmonizing sacred geometry that I'm learning about is the number 9, 3, 6, 9, and all these numbers that add up to 9 bring harmony to the being, to the vessel. And so this prayer of the 7 galactic directions can do that as well. So if you're listening and you're a veteran, may you really hear this prayer as a healing vibration and help you to come into harmony with your soul that may have been lost from that experience.
From the east, house of light, may wisdom dawn in us. so we may see all things in clarity. From the north, house of night, may wisdom ripen in us, so we may see all from within. From the west, house of transformation, may wisdom be transformed into right action, so we may do what must be done. From the south, house of the eternal sun, may right action reap the harvest, so we may enjoy the fruits of planetary being. From above, house of heaven, where star people and ancestors gather, may their blessings come to us now. From below, house of earth, may the heartbeat of her crystal core bless us with harmonies to end all war. From the center, galactic source, which is everywhere at once, may everything be known as the light of mutual love. Ayum, Hunabku, Eva Maya, E Maho. Ayum, Hunabku, Eva Maya, E Maho. Ayum, Hunabku, Eva Maya, E Maho.
as we said, music was key in the Vietnam War to help those soldiers balance the negative, destructive, hateful, harmful death energy that they were surrounded by. And so this show is dedicated to them for healing, for healing. My prayer is that all the men who are still struggling with that experience, that they might find the music, that they might find the prayers, or that they might find the people, especially the support that they need. So here is another tribute to those who fought in the war, that I hope will bring the healing that's needed for the men who are still battling or who are still in the battle. I was reading comments on some of the YouTube videos, and some men, even 3 years ago, would listen to some of this music and cry just from hearing the music that took them back to that experience. Some men need to cry. Some men can't cry. One of my friends who fought in Vietnam, who's struggling with health problems, he can't cry. He's having a hard time crying about anything. So I hope tonight that the tears may flow just from the music that is being shared tonight.
You packed your bags and shut the door. You crossed the sea to fight a war. You didn't know just what would happen to you. Stepped in the dirt, boots on the ground, and gunfire was the only sound. And to yourself you whispered hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Every day and every night, you walk the walk, you fight the fight. You never saw the end in sight, now did ya? The days are washing a haze of red, the blood, the mud, too many dead. Your weary soul was crying hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Too late to help you hear a shot. You know you're in a deadly spot. You never thought the day would come, now did ya? Your brother falls down to the ground. The enemy is all around, and from your lips you scream hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. You fought the fight till it was done. You have the strength to carry on. You thought it'd be much better back home, did ya? You try each day, keep pushing through, but the battle lives inside of you. It's a cold and it's a broken hallelujah, don't have to be afraid of what you are. There's an answer if you reach into your soul, and the sorrow that you know will melt away. And then a hero comes along with the strength to carry on, and you cast your fears aside, and you know you can survive. So when you feel like hope is gone, look inside you and be strong, and you'll finally see the truth, that a hero lies in you. It's a long road when you face the world alone. One reaches out a hand for you to hold. You can find love if you search within yourself, and the emptiness you felt will disappear. And then a hero comes along with the strength to carry on, and you cast your fears aside, and you know you can survive. So when you feel like hope is gone, look inside you and be strong, and you finally see the truth, that a hero lies in you. Lord knows dreams are hard to follow, but don't let anyone tear them away. Hold on, there will be tomorrow. In time, you'll find the way. That a hero comes along with the strength to carry on, and you cast your fears aside, and you know you can survive. So when you feel like hope is gone, look inside you and be strong, and you'll finally see the truth, that a hero lies in you. That a hero lies in you. That a hero lies in you.
Wow. Wow. That was a Vietnam tribute to those who serve. It brings tears to my eyes, especially that last one, the caskets. Wow. We honor you, Kwame Sunhorse. I see Kwame is commenting here. Kwame is one of my teachers about Vietnam veteran survival. He says, we who live a memory of all done in Vietnam, knowing in our soul. And he is thankful for helpers. Only my creator knows what lies in me. So true, so true. I salute you, Kwame Sunhorse, for surviving, for honoring, for recognizing the creator's grace, the creator's love for you, and for all the veterans who came through that horrible, horrible, horrible experience. You know, men and women who sign up for the military in the United States have been told that it's to keep this country free. And the battle in Vietnam that I have learned about was against communism versus Catholicism, capitalism, and so much more. It was a battle of elites who didn't want to have the Creator's grace over people in a foreign land. Because when it comes down to it, when there's a civil war in a country and people can't come together and decide, then it's the Creator's grace and guidance that will make things happen for the better or worse. But all in all, it's a lesson. I'm sure Kwame and all the men who went to Vietnam can look back and say, this is what I learned in that experience. And most of them will say Creator kept them from more harm physically, because if you came back with both arms and legs, you had another story to tell about the harm it does to your mind and your soul and your spirit and your emotions. So we can say that the lie that's told to men and women who sign up for the military, that it's to keep our country free, is that the truth? Kwame says it was gold, oil, drugs, God, G-O-D. We translate the G-O-D into gold, oil, and drugs. They wanted that opium out of the field. So the CIA flying airplanes while the war is going on, the elite doing their thing, the narcissists took over. And just like in the Middle East, we haven't learned the lessons in this country as far as the citizens to know what is really going on. There's always a love of money that is the root of all the evil. Because when the CIA was flying airplanes back and forth from Vietnam, making money off the opium, that money was going to companies, corporations like Martin Marietta, Lockheed Martin, who is located right here in Orlando, the biggest contractor in the world, I think. So this company right here in Orlando, in Disneyland, they're like right next to each other practically. Disneyland, big corporation, and Lockheed Martin, all in cahoots, making money off of war. Because all those millions of tons of bombs that had to be dropped in Vietnam, who made them? Corporations. And the people who worked for those corporations ended up, a lot of them, in extremely stressful retirements. I worked in the home of a man who worked for Lockheed Martin for many years. And once he retired, he said he spent a whole year on the floor on his back most of his days. He was so stressed out from that environment of creating kill weapons. So we know now that these wars are senseless. These wars are all about money, the gold, oil, and drugs. So what are we to do? Well, I want to play Marvin Gaye, more music before we go, to remind us of the frequency that we need to raise in our own bodies and our own minds to avoid more wars. It has to be a one-to-one change that each of us decides to raise the frequency in our minds, stop the war within, and collectively we can end all wars. But it has to be done first individually. So Marvin Gaye was so influential back then. And I want to just play one more of his, or maybe a couple more of his songs that made us think about this life we're living here, and what difference can we make as we go about our daily. Hey, what's happening? This is a big party, man.
Mother, there's too many of you crying. Brother, there's far too many of you dying. You know we've got to find a way to bring some loving here today. Yeah. Father, we don't need to escalate. You see, war is not the answer, for only love can conquer hate. You know we've got to find a way to bring some love in here today. Oh, picket lines and picket signs. Don't punish me with brutality. Talk to me so you can see what's going on. What's going on? Yeah, what's going on? Oh, what's going on? Right on. Right on. Right on. Mother, everybody thinks we're wrong. Oh, but who are they to judge us? Simply because our hair is long. Oh, you know we got to bring some understanding here today. Oh. Pick it loud and pick it sound. Don't punish me with brutality. Come on, talk to me. You can see what's going on. Yeah, what's going on? Tell me what's going on. I'll tell you what's going on. Ooh. Right on. Right on. Right on.
So Kwame tells us that Marvin Gaye's brother fought in Vietnam. And his brother was asking the question, like all those soldiers at some point, what's going on here? Why are we here? Why are we here? And Muhammad Ali asked the biggest question, saying they never called him a nigger, so why would he go fight the Viet Cong? He said Viet Cong never called him any names. I think today in 2025, we all should be asking, what the hell is going on with this government? This government is still being led by a bunch of narcissistic, psychopathic vampires. Let's just use the word vampire since it's fresh in our minds from Sinners. Vampires, blood-loving men and women in Washington, D.C. They don't give a damn about human lives. They're not working for the people of the United States of America. It's all about the Benjamins in Washington, D.C. And so every decision to drop more bombs on people in the Middle East today is all about the Benjamins, baby. So every one of us, let's ask every day, what's going on? And then ask yourself, are you at war? Are you confused about who you are and what your role is today in 2025 to stop all this killing and murdering? let us all be more conscious. And my sister Zelda makes a comment about she just watched Denzel on American Gangster movie where he cut out the middleman going to Vietnam for form himself. The world praised this performance, not realizing such a low frequency to live in. Yeah, you know, thank you, Zelda, because there's so many areas of our life where this love of money and low frequency, low vibration is present. I'm just grateful that the music uh, was heard by the Vietnam veterans so that they could survive that craziness, that horror, that hell. Let's just call it a hell. But I want everybody to research Henry Kissinger because there's a lot of things said about this man trying to paint him as some good person. But Henry Kissinger was another Netanyahu. And I want to say, from what I've learned about him, he was another Khazarian Zionist mafia member. You can bet he was a Khazarian. He came over here as a, quote, Jewish refugee, but his bloodline allegedly appears to be that of Khazarian Zionist mafia. And those are the energies, that's the energies that have no value for life. They're ruthless killers, mafia type. You know, it's funny in the Sinners movie, the brothers went to Chicago and hung around the Al Capone mafia types, right? And then that's when they came back to Mississippi and brought all that violence with them. So it was almost karma in the Sinners movie. There's so many deep messages in that movie. And I just thought about this right now, how hanging around with mafia people, violence, murderers, you come back to Mississippi as they did in the movie. And that's how you make things happen with violence, shooting people in the leg and things happen. And then at the end of the day, everybody's dead or turned into a vampire like the leaders of this country. So the moral of that story, don't hang around with mafia types, Zionist, Khazarian mafia types, and don't hang around with women who are not clear about what their role is. This is a time for female divine female energy to rise in both men and women, because that's how we got into Vietnam. There was very little female divine energy working in that whole 50 years of war and drama and trauma and hell. So my suggestion for us going forward is that we begin to develop our feminine energy, men and women. And let's see, we got another comment here. Kwame says, writing, arithmetic, reading is WAR, miseducation. Writing, arithmetic, reading, miseducation. War, yes, absolutely. And that's what I love about the 7 galactic prayer. Look that up and maybe say that prayer daily to bring in the energy of ending all these wars that have caused so much suffering and so much pain that continues to this day in a lot of men who experience that hell. Nothing like going to hell and bringing it home with you and then having to react and be triggered by the experience you had in hell. That's what I'm learning and seeing. I am so grateful for people like Kwame and the men in my life who had that experience, who are teaching me to be more patient, to be a better listener. I'm a better listener because of men who went and served in that hell. So may all of you remember the 50-year hell and the 20-year hell that many of our American citizens experience in Vietnam. And may you be more patient, more loving, more compassionate, and better listeners to understand and understand the suffering that is still going on in our brothers and sisters, maybe, who had to live with men who came back from that hell. And that's what we all can overcome. I'm an overcomer. I believe Kwame represents the overcomers, the victorious ones who had Yah's grace, the Creator's grace all over these men who I still know in my life. Grace, Yah's grace, God, Yah's love over these men that have brought them into our lives to teach us what we need in this 2025 of pure chaos in America, for sure. And come out of victim mode. Please, 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 people, come out of victim mode. There's just too much of that. When I read on Facebook some of the comments about the government, people are, oh, poor me. Look what happened to me. Look what's happening to us. Oh, we can't get over this. Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can. Just go to look at the documentary on Vietnam. It's about 4 episodes, maybe 5. And then come out of your victim mode if you know anybody who survived that hell. You should never be a victim again after watching the Vietnam documentary on Netflix. Right? It was started. I think it started on April 30th, which was the anniversary of the so-called end of Vietnam War, April 30th, 1975. Watch that, please, and then we'll have more people stop talking about, oh, poor me. Look what's happening to me. The government is so awful. Go to Vietnam for a while and just walk in the footsteps of those Vietnam veterans who survived that hell. And then I'm starting to have no patience with people who want to be in victim mind. Nah, go. Get out of my life. Gone. I'm not going to hear it anymore. If you're a victim of your circumstances. Just find a veteran to sit down and listen to send them, give them a hot meal, give them some help in any way you can. But stop crying as a victim, please. Doesn't make sense anymore. Just doesn't make sense. We are powerful, especially melanin people. And I look at the Vietnam War with all the different races that participated in that. We really need to stop being racist too, because that was not. It didn't segregate. It did not segregate the men in Vietnam. This man here, my dad, served in World War II. Now he was in a segregated unit. He was not on the front line. He was doing the supplies in the background. That's why he lived to be 95. And most of the men, like my dad, who served in World War II, they didn't go to the hell that our Vietnam veterans went through. So this day, I send out a prayer of love and appreciation and healing to all my Vietnam veteran brothers who understand the Creator's grace over your life now, and that you might become more and more balanced in harmonizing in your soul to overcome whatever challenges you're going through right now in your physical, mental, or spiritual body. Love, love, love to all of you. And so Kwame has another point here. My daughter went back to Vietnam. Yes, we had the privilege of getting to know Kwame's daughter, Shonda, last week, I believe it was, because she's a luxury travel agent. And that beautiful woman traveled to Vietnam. And I know the story. She sent her dad a postcard, or she brought you a postcard back, or she mailed you a postcard, one of those, from Vietnam. That was, I think it was very touching to Kwame to have his daughter travel all the way over there and consciously think of her dad walking in that place. I don't know, were you in Cambodia, Kwame? Because that was that whole story about Cambodia and how we got into that mess, Ho Chi Minh Trail, and it's a fascinating history to see the experience that men had in that foreign land in hell. Really, a beautiful, beautiful country. And I imagine Shonda shared with her dad about what a beautiful place it is now. And just to imagine the hell that men had to go through with killing each other, burning huts, burning houses, killing children, and then to have your own child travel there and experience that. What a blessing. That has to have been a blessing, I would think, to know that your daughter made that effort to actually remember you in that place and to send you a greeting from that place. That's just precious, I would think. So, and Cambodia, I would love to go back there just to see how beautiful that place is now, and the people, how resilient they are to have survived that. It's just amazing. That's why life is worth living, when you can get over the hell experiences and the challenges and realize that the Creator's love rules all over all. Sent me a card, yes. Thank you, Kwame. His daughter sent him a postcard of Vietnam that I know touched him to receive. And that's what we can do that even now to our Vietnam veterans. Send a card to your veteran friends from wherever you are. Just lift their spirits. Talk to them. I have one friend who's going through a lot. He's a veteran. And I realize now all I have to do is listen. I don't do a lot of talking to him. I just listen, and that's what brings him peace and joy and some sense of understanding and purpose for what he's been through. Just having someone to listen to them. I'm ready. My ears are open because I realize what an experience that was that I didn't have to go through. But those who went through it, they're now our teachers. They're our teachers about the grace and love of our Creator and the sole purpose that we all should be more aware of and conscious of, and the process of evolution. Because if you went through that hell, you are now evolving in some way, shape, or form because you survived. And I say thank you to all my brothers out there who are still breathing in their body, and just keep breathing, deep breathing, keep breathing, and remember. So Kwame says Ho Chi Minh Trail was heroin route from Cambodia. Wow. Did they make a movie about that? Have they made a movie about that? Because that story is just crazy, crazy. All the human lives that were lost, the tons, hundreds and million tons of bombs that were dropped, all so they could track heroin out, get the heroin out. That's just the evil we live in. And that's the movie Sinners. The symbolism is there about our lives in the vampires. They were in Cambodia, Ho Chi Minh Trail, and somebody should have been shooting them down. Yeah, the vampires in Ho Chi Minh Trail. They were all the blood was being shed, and that's the vampires that we still live amongst, because there's a lot of bloodshed even now in the Middle East. So let us all be waking up, and cannot trust this government. Let's just wake up. This is the government right here. I'm the government. I'm the president of me. I'm the president. This is the only government you can trust is your own soulful, human, beautiful self. Let's do it. Join together and make this world a better place. There's a song, but we won't play it right now. So Kwame says, do 5 bloods. 4 Black veterans returned to Vietnam decades after the war to find their squad leaders' remains. Wow. Oh, I think I saw that. Wasn't that a movie? Yeah. I think I saw that. Who was in that movie? I'm trying to remember. I did see that. Uh, and higher learning, yes. Zelda says vampires walk among us daily. That is one of the biggest lessons that we all can learn. We're learning to recognize the vampires, recognize them, and stay away from them. It's not like they're going to jump on you and bite your neck, but they're called, there's bloodsuckers. They're going to suck your blood in a spiritual sense. So let's all recognize who they are. And that's why it's worth your time to look at some of the reviews. Yeah, Spike Lee movie on Black Men. I saw that movie. Yes, I did. Powerful movie. Yes, thank you. Yeah, let's all be very alert these days. Watch some of the reviews on Sinners, because people are recognizing all the symbolism after the fourth time. I mean, I've seen reviews of people who've seen this movie four times, and they come up with new understanding, new symbolism every time they see the movie. It just goes to show you how brilliant Kubler is, and especially Michael B. Jordan. Just amazing performances, lessons galore. If you haven't seen it, go see it. Don't be afraid of the vampires. Just wear your set your just be sure and put on your linen garments and protect your energy. If you think spirits are going to jump on you or something, just go see the movie and learn all about the symbolism. So before we go, let me, yes, Alicia says, great symbolism. Oh my goodness. And I've only seen it once, but I'm going to have to go back again, because I keep seeing, I missed a lot of things that people are bringing out in their reviews. So I've got to go back and see it because I want to pick up on the things I missed. Plus, the music was just phenomenal. Oh my goodness! If you didn't see it, you got to just go back for the music, if nothing else, because that's what inspires you to look at this movie as something very unique. So before we go, I want to remind everyone my new book, my republished book, is on available as a ebook on Amazon, From Fear to Faith and the Master Design. This is a sacred geometry, inspirational writing and book, and it's a manuscript for the prevention of cancer, because I had so many people in my life who taught me how to prevent cancer, just at learning about German new medicine, putting together the people's testimonies in my life. So go to Amazon.com and find From Fear to Faith and download it as a Kindle. Now, if you don't have a Kindle, you can order it from me directly by sending me an email and paying through Cash App. Let me bring up that. Okay. My TikTok address is on the screen, and I'll send you a PDF of the book. It's only $7.99 and only about 70 pages, but it's a great manual how to prevent cancer. I go on Facebook, 3 Facebook pages where women are showing up every day who've been diagnosed with breast cancer. Oh, my heart goes out to them, but some of them are already into the system of chemo and radiation and suffering and all that. And I just put in there, okay, my book tells you how to prevent it for those who are just being diagnosed. So get the book from Amazon, or go to my website, yourholisticlifecoach.com, and send me an email and do a Cash App, and we can rock and roll from there. So thank you all for your comments. Alicia says, great symbolism. Yeah, if that movie is amazing, off the chain. I mean, it's just awesome. Great messages. So I'm glad everybody is paying attention and being entertained, but educated. That's what it's all about. So it's good timing tonight. Thank you all for joining me, and I hope that If you have time, watch Vietnam on Netflix, and you'll learn a lot. If you didn't know anything before or now, you'll learn a lot. But most important, just know that people like Henry Kissinger, who was very influential in that war, is still alive today in Netanyahu as the Khazarian Zionist mafia that is really influencing. And it's funny, the protests haven't really moved our government because the APAC lobbyist is so strong. We've got to find a better way. And I think the better way is collectively coming together and changing the spiritual atmosphere in our country and our world. That's what it has to be. Because even all those protests against the Vietnam War, that didn't really stop it as much as the political maneuvering that needed to be done. And actually, they were losing so badly in Vietnam that they had to give up. And I guess they had enough money from the opium and the heroin transferring and all that. So we have to approach it differently, raising our consciousness and bringing about a new melanin community of unity in the community and all over the world. Consciousness, raising our consciousness to shift the spiritual energy in this planet. That's what it's happening. It's happening. People are coming there. People are developing the mind of Christ big time lately, but it's more. We need more. So keep that in mind as you go about your daily activities. So I want to say thank you to all my yogi friends out there. Namaste, Sat Nam. And everybody have a great week. And enjoy the blue skies and clouds when they come. We're having more and more of that because we just had a law passed in Florida that says no more chemtrails and no more fluoride in the water. So come to Florida where it's a lot healthier. Mwah.